unfortunately, for this episode, it looks like we will have to talk about yet another issue to do with hockey culture, and I really don't want to keep doing this, but these issues keep coming up. And the latest is, of course, the Pittsburgh Penguins, my favorite hockey team, and the article that came out on Tuesday, courtesy of TSN's Rick Westhead, the special investigative reporter, that the Penguins ignored a sexual assault and let it slide in 2018 with their farm team, the Wilkes-Barre Penguins. So you can read the article if you want. It goes into some pretty graphic details, but essentially the former assistant coach of the Penguins, Jared Skald, his wife, he alleges was sexually assaulted by the former head coach of the Wilkes-Barre Penguins, Clark Donatelli, twice during a road trip to Rhode Island, once briefly in the hotel room when Donatelli and Skald's wife were alone, and then the second time, in the same road trip, it was at night, so it was dark. Jared Skald was driving, Donatelli and Jared Skald's wife were in the back. Donatelli did some pretty graphic things, to say the least. Again, don't want to get into it. It's there for you to read. And this happened in November of 2018. They approached Donatelli. He said he would change and he would go get some help. He did not. The Skalds were silent about it, as a lot of victims are, because there's a lot of stigma surrounding survivors of sexual assault and sexual violence. It's also a power dynamic. He was the head coach. Donatelli was the head coach. Skald was just the assistant. There's a whole power dynamic. Also, he didn't even know where to start, how he would complain. And Donatelli had a winning record, so it was unlikely the Penguins would have released him, which apparently this was not even the first time that had happened. There had been incidences that season and the season before during his time in Wilkes-Barre that Donatelli had taken advantage of other female staff as well, treated them in a very sexual manner, made some lewd comments. But again, the Penguins knew about this, allegedly kept him on because he had a winning record. He was good for their East Coast Hockey League team, and then when Mike Sullivan took over the Pittsburgh Penguins, Donatelli got the job in Wilkes-Barre, and he was good there as well. So finally, the Skalds did come forward to Bill Guerin, who was the GM of the Wilkes-Barre Penguins at the time, assistant GM of the Penguins at the 2019 draft. Bill Guerin, suffice to say, he did nothing about it. The only thing that happened was 2 months later, in August of 2019, Clark Donatelli stepped down for personal reasons, so the Penguins thought that if they let him step down for personal reasons, gave him some money maybe to quietly go away, all this would itself go away. Everyone would forget about it, and no one would be the wiser. They thought they could just make it go away because a franchise that is this supposed to be this classy and this respected, they can't have this kind of drama and this kind of thing going on behind the scenes, because it really diminishes the credibility of the franchise. But fast forward to May of 2020, during the coronavirus pandemic, everyone's losing money. Penguins are no exception, and out of the 21 members on their staff that worked in hockey operations, only one got fired. That was Jared Skald, who had, of course, complained about the sexual assault less than a year earlier. So it's not a coincidence that he was fired, and he was the one who complained about the sexual assault. The team claimed the firing was not performance related, so it really does make you think. Again, these allegations are unproven, but Rick Westhead does not post something unless he has done a lot of research beforehand and he gets his facts corroborated by multiple sources, which he did in this case. The Skalds are now suing the Penguins. The Penguins have fought back, saying that they want the lawsuit to be dismissed, but other than that little statement in the article, they have not commented on the matter. Bill Guerin has not commented on the matter. To make matters worse, he is now GM of the Minnesota Wild, so what kind of culture is he bringing into that organization? And you have to think that the Wild knew about this when they hired him. Hockey community is pretty small. People talk. You'd have to think they'd have some inkling that this was going on. And of course, the NHL has stayed silent on the issue, and I'm extremely disappointed and disheartened, to say the least. And it's another black mark against the Penguins, and I'm starting to think that maybe the team is not as classy as we thought. It's not a good look for Lemieux. It's not a good look for the Penguins. It's not a good look for the NHL or for hockey.